Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could please ask for your attention, we would like to begin the evening celebration of cultural diplomacy and the power of the arts and music to bring people together. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it's really an honor on behalf of the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy in partnership with the Iman Foundation to host you here this evening for, I think, really the embodiments of the reason why we're all here for these 4 days. We're here because we believe in the power of music and art to bring people together, to transcend borders, and to actually allow for an understanding and trust to be built that sometimes is not possible with words, with politics, with economics. I think we all recognize the power that sometimes music can have, that film can have, that the arts can have, that sports can have, to actually sometimes do the impossible. We've discussed the last few days during conflict situations when most would give up. Most would say culture, that's a luxury, that's something that comes later. And we recognize that actually culture, even in those urgent times of crisis, can also serve as a bridge. We've discussed also the power post-conflict in terms of reconciliation, where also in terms of bringing people together in an honest way of really actually healing wounds, literal wounds of the past. Even in those cases, culture can also really have an impact. So tonight we have a very special chance to actually, in particular, be greeted by two experts in the field, two real cultural diplomats who really, through their music, have actually transcended many borders, whether it was during the Cold War period, beyond that, all around the world. And we'll have a chance really to benefit from them, from their own point of view, in terms of that special power that culture has. So it's really an honor and a pleasure for me to be able to open this evening together in partnership with Ribal Al-Assad, the chairman of the Iman Foundation. And we really think that we've already accomplished a lot the last few days. So this evening, I think, will just be the cementing of many of the bonds that we've already begun the last few days. So welcome to you all. We really look forward to an amazing evening. And without further ado, I'll give the microphone to my partner and friend, Ribal Al-Assad, the chairman of the Iman Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Actually, I wasn't supposed to speak, but Mark and Rami put me on the spot here, and I'd just like to welcome you all again, and thank you very much for being here in this amazing place, the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, a place where could bring such an amazing mix of people from the world of politics, music, arts, and from all around the world too. And I would like to thank everyone again, and I hope you have a good evening and great food. And thank you very much again. Thank you.
And before we leave the stage, Ribal, I'd like to actually say a few words of introduction about our first speaker for this evening of cultural diplomacy. The Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, I must say, is quite grateful that for the last years we've had a member of our advisory board who's not a former minister or a former president or a professor, but a musician, and really a cultural diplomat in one of the best senses of the word. This member of our advisory board has traveled the world. She's had a chance to perform, sometimes in situations and contexts when it seemed impossible to actually bring people together in a performance. Her music, I'm sure, is familiar to all of us, and I think in many ways she's really been able to touch individuals, sometimes in times of crisis and conflict, in ways that really other forms of diplomacy could not. Ms. Marcia Barrett has been very, very active with the ICD. I still remember one of the most powerful experiences we had was about 2 years ago, where we were doing a conference looking at also conflict resolution. And I remember in particular we had Barrettof was here, former Prime Minister of Ireland, together with a number of distinguished guests. And we had a special performance of Boney of the song Belfast. And it was amazing here in Berlin, 2 years ago, to actually have these special individuals here together, dancing together, holding hands, to a song that really had meant so much, not only to Ireland, but also the rest of the world, especially at a very crucial time in Ireland's history, but also beyond. So I have many memories, and actually I've experienced so many times when really Marcia Barrett has actually implemented cultural diplomacy through her music. So it's really an honor to have the chance to have her here this evening, and I'm sure we will all benefit from her wisdom and also from her experience in the field of cultural diplomacy. So I would ask for a very, very warm and a very, very sincere welcome for the Honorable Ms. Marcia Barrett. Thank you.
Smiling faces. No.
Ms. Barrett?
Yes.
Just ignore it.
Okay. What kind of sound is that? That's not my voice, is it? I'll try. Ooh, it's hello, isn't it?
Put it down. No, don't.
No, I don't like to bend.
No, don't bend. No, just ignore the microphone. Just ignore it.
Darn it. Okay.
Good.
I have to put these on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, who are gathered here this evening for this special event hosted by Mr. Mark Dunfried, the founder of the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, and his team. I am indeed honored to be invited here tonight as well, presenting, well, I should have really disbanded that. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I would like to add that we, the group Boney, I am from Boney, of course, the original, one of the originals. And it's really a pleasure that after 35 years, I can stand here and give a speech or perform globally. Some of you might be aware that there are 4 originals: was Bobby, Liz, Maisie, and myself. Unfortunately, Bobby passed away December 2010. I'm still missing him dearly, even though we did not see each other as much over the recent years, but had a few telephone talks which were always full of energetic vibes. Let me give you a little synopsis about myself, if you're interested, that is. Who I am and what I'm about. The old story will have to be in a film or an intended personal biography. I am just waiting for a time slot to focus totally on that. I was born and bred in Jamaica. Different parishes at different times. It all depended on which guardian could take care of me. Even though the bread was often scarce, Mama, my sister, and I were destined for another sort of life, in another sort of world. Life in Britain. Mama, Minette Gordon, left 2 years prior to her departure from Jamaica to pave the way for a new beginning in a new land, where she had 2 jobs as a single parent. She worked and saved, and within this short time span, she was able to purchase 2 plane tickets for her 2 daughters from Chinese travel service from Jamaica to Britain in 1963. I was 13 years old, and my sister Dorrit was 11 and a half years old. I was where we finished our schooling. Wait, no. I was 13 years old, and my sister Dorrit was 11 and a half years old. This was where we finished our schooling and very quickly got used to the culture shock. It was during these school years in Britain that I was always picked out by my music teacher, Miss Tetley, to exercise the lead role in the class choir. She always made arrangements for the class to visit Sadler's Wells Theatre, to enjoy a presentation of Carmen or Madame Butterfly, etc., etc. I was getting the real thrill of music, with shivers going up and down my spine at each concert. Mind you, during our singing sessions at school, Miss Tetley at times would ask me not to sing so loud because my voice was drowning the rest of the girls. I felt a little confined, but learned how to hold back, blending in with the rest of the girls after the constant reminder from her. Funnily enough, would you believe it, after over a decade of me, let me find the right page, bear with me. Hold on, bear with me. Finishing school, already established as a vocalist with Boney, my close girlfriend Elaine Tracy told me that she had bumped into Miss Tetley who was asking for my whereabouts. She was getting married and wanted us to sing at her wedding. So I guess my voice wasn't all that loud after all. Singing felt so good, which always made me feel so free that my wish was to sing for the world. At the age of 19, my dream was getting made into reality when I was offered a contract by Stigwood Organization, a management company in England, through a friend of mine who was the Nat King Cole of Jamaica, Jackie Edwards, for a dancing job here in Germany. It was in Hamburg, Harburg, in the top 10 discotheque. This was straightforward creative dancing, entertaining teenagers like myself with my presentation on weekends between 4 to 8 p.m. Not on the table, let me make that clear. It was one evening at the end of my performance that I could not resist taking the microphone from the disc jockey, Uwe, and sang with the disc he was playing, "Oh, Happy Day." To my delight, one by one, the audience stood up with a standing ovation and applauded me wholeheartedly. Roughly about a year later, with the same act, for every 4 months, I was approached by one Ernst Harnell to execute my singing career, and he would be my manager. I took up his offer, and before we knew it, Marcia Barrett, de Feuerwerk aus Jamaica, was constantly booked out all over Germany for galas, huge discotheques, and even had a few TV appearances on German TV, for example, Schaubude, etc., etc. This went on for about 5 years as a soloist, until I was again approached by a girl from the story that she knew of a producer that wanted to form a group, and if I was interested to meet him for an audition. I did not react until 4 months later, thinking to myself, why join a group when I was going so well, doing so well already as a soloist? You know, give me a break. To my surprise, this producer from foreign was still searching for 3 black girls and 1 black man to reproduce on TV a track he had already produced. Do you want to bump? I then met him and our arranger Stefan Klinkhammer in Saarbrücken, in Stefan's flat, where he accompanied me on piano, and I sang 4 songs for both of them. At the end, Farin turned to me and said, that will do. The rest is history. I would also like to convey that it was my repertoire on my reel-to-reel tape as a soloist that Boney started off with after our first couple of hits. What I have experienced in these years of my career and still experiencing over 3 decades is that music is indeed inspirational. It soothes within our souls. No matter what type of music you enjoy, it is a healer at all times. People can come together with their different cultures as one, anytime, in singing, playing their instruments, and dancing to the notes of the music. Even if only for one little moment, sorrows and despair just vanish into thin air, and peace takes over, leading into comfort. Politicians have come together, sharing different thoughts through music. Music is often used in operation theaters to calm those skilled physicians who take care of us when ill health injects. I know very well with my experiences, being a cancer survivor 5 different times within 16 years. During these years of healing, I was comforted as my co-writer and husband, Marcus James, and I composed some of our most beautiful songs, which helped us both to heal mentally and me physically with all the process of treatments. And I might add there that these songs can be heard on my new upcoming CD double CD that I would like to release at the end of latest February next year, because it's been sitting there, all this music, and nobody has heard them. So it's going to be a pleasure to bring them out finally. Okay. I would like to share a fascinating story with you, showing how music is powerful. In 1985, two English mountaineers decided to venture into climbing a 21,000-foot mountain peak in Peru, Suala Grande. They were young and fit, in their mid-20s, and had no fear. They were Joe Simpson and Simon Yates. After a couple of days, they encountered extreme danger when Joe Simpson dropped into a fall of 150 feet and apparently saw no way out alive. His buddy Simon decided, after no sign of Joe to cut the rope he was dangling on with a broken leg, thinking that he was not going to see him again. Funnily enough, whilst Joe was figuring out what to do to avoid death, he explained in their documentary, Touching the Void, that's the title of the documentary, that out of the blue, in desperation, he heard a song from a band called Boney M, which was Brown Girl in the Ring. He went on to say that he did not even like Boney M's music, but the song went around in his head for hours and hours as he desperately clung to life. He then asked himself, who is that? And started to laugh. Then said, and I quote, I'm going to die with Boney M. The miracle is that Joe did not die, but is alive to tell his story. Can you imagine that this simple little song that my classmates and I danced and sang in Jamaica between the age of 5 and 7 at the most gave somebody the will to live almost 4 decades later, after being trapped for days, not knowing if he was going to survive? That's the power of music, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. But I'm going on a little bit further. Thank you so much. Another experience is at our dentist in Palm Beach, where Marcus and I were living for nearly 20 years. Our dentist, Mr. Westcott, was always whistling in his surgery to songs that came up over the system he had constructed. It was so comforting to hear that a filling or two done by him was a pleasure, after getting into a relaxed mode for the drilling. Even when he had changed location, we would still drive at least 45 minutes just to hear his whistle. On top of that, he was a good dentist. In 2007, I was invited for a concert in Tbilisi, Georgia, to try and uplift the people during their troubled times with my presentation of Boney M songs. The evening was magical and brought everybody together. Even the soldiers were singing and smiling. There again, music spoke loud and clearly. I could go on and on, as you can predict, on telling you about my different experiences globally, how music is a way to bring all nations together. But I do not want to make my speech too lengthy. I personally would like to see more mingling of music into our day-to-day lives with the challenges that confront us in this troubled world today. From day one, musicians and other people in the arts have tried to bring peace and love to people of the world. I have contributed for the cause and will continue to do so whenever time and plans permit. On this note, I will say thanks for listening, and I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the evening until we meet again. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Barrett. That was really an honor and a pleasure, and I think especially coming from you, that really meant a lot, and that added a lot also to the evening as a whole. I would now like to introduce someone you've actually already met and had the privilege to learn from earlier this week, who's going to give the official introduction of Mr. Ian Gillan, Ms. Katalin Bog.